come today with praise on our lips, with worship in our hearts. We come today to give you our all. When we think about where you have brought us from, think about where we could have been and should have been and have been projected to be. And we look at ourselves now, we can't help but to say, thank you, Lord. The fact that we are still here sitting in our seats today, we can't help but to say, thank you, Lord. We look at the person sitting next to us. We know, God, you are a mighty good God. And we can't help but to say, thank you, Lord. So with our hands lifted up and our mouths filled with praise, we will bless you, oh Lord. We'll bless you everywhere we go. We'll bless you in the morning. We'll bless you in the noonday. We'll bless you when we go out. We will bless you. I thank you today for the spirit of worship that is in this place. Despite all that we have to go through and all we have to do, may we never lose our praise. So Lord, I beseech you now. Yes, Lord, we need you. Somebody stand in the midst of a blessing. Saturate this place with your heart. We got to go where oh God, your will be done. Receive a word from you. And this praise we get ready to give you is for what you will do. In Jesus' name, amen. Somebody ought to give praise in the house today. Expecting something from all of you. But you didn't find something in you. Nobody's going to show up soon. But when you are a preacher, We can put on fancy clothes and then just a little nice and the stare at one another. I pray that's not what you needed from the Lord today. Yes, yes, yes. And the people of God said amen. Shout it like you mean it, say amen. Go with me to Proverbs, chapter 24. We'll read just one verse, verse 27, Proverbs, chapter 24. Read one verse, verse 27. You see it on the screen, let's read God's word together. Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. Somebody say, after that. After that. Friends of God, we've been engaging in this past month on the sermon series in G.R.O.W. Asking God specifically for spiritual growth, and also physical growth here as a church together. Now, family, while I would love for all of us to pray to God for our specific growth, our individual growth, hear me good. It's good when we can come together as a body of believers, as a community, and seek growth with one another. And so we've been looking at ways in which God is calling us to grow throughout the scriptures. And so on the first Sunday, we took the G.R.O.W. We talked about go after it. And God has not called us to be complacent, to sit down, that nothing is going to be handed to you, but you have to pursue some things. You have to go after. The last Sunday we then took the R. We talked about reach beyond it, which we understood that as a church we cannot stay inside these four walls. It's one thing to have magnetic worship that we just experienced. It's another thing to live that worship outside the doors when you leave today. And so we've been called, friends of God, to reach beyond just this side of Christendom, or even reach outside of our egos and personal preferences and reach towards God, who is our help. Well, today I want to grab the O today. Today, friends of God, is not a fancy title. I just want to give it to you like I got it and like it is. And so today we're going to talk about organize and strategize. Organize and strategize. As we continue to consider the theme of growth for our church and believing that God is going to produce some sprouts of spiritual and physical growth, one of the things that we must never neglect is our ability to organize and strategize. Where we are, our position in life, and even our intentions have an effect on our success and growth. Every organizational structure, friends, is based on a purpose. Our main purpose as the church is to go and make disciples for Christ. And yes, John Wesley has a mission for growing God's people for ministry. So what strategy and organization does is it provides the structure for an effective and efficient way for us to pursue our mission. In other words, organization and strategy are the legs and the roadmap to fulfill your purpose. The tragedy becomes when you have purpose but lack the organizational skills and strategic plan to actually bring to pass what you've been called to do. The sad reality is that many of us have purpose but ain't doing nothing with it. We're pregnant with purpose, but we don't know how to deliver. We are walking around asking everybody to fill our bellies, talking about get kicked, talking about I can't wait for it to come. We've been rehearsing that line for years now and have missed our opportunity to push and make it happen. As a result, we've been gloating on purpose when God has been trying to move us from purpose to impact. Such is the case in the church. We know our purpose, we rehearse our purpose, we quote our purpose, but we must ask the question, when will we make our purpose our practice? You can't stay pregnant forever. At some point, we got to deliver. You cannot just keep hanging your hat on the fact that you got a calling. At some point, you got to accept the calling. You can't just live on just potential alone. You must move from having potential to producing something. Les Brown once quoted saying that the richest place in the world isn't the bank, it's the cemetery. Because too many people have left their unused gifts and talents behind. They got satisfied with living in just purpose and potential, but forgot to deliver, forgot to push, forgot to give birth. I don't know about you, but when this poor lisping, stammering tongue lies silent in the grave and the preacher reads the rites and rituals over my body and my family is limited to 2 minutes to tell the story at my funeral, I don't want them to say that I had a whole bunch of potential. I don't want them to say that he could have and should have and had the opportunity to. I want them to say he did something. I want them to say he produced something. I want them to say he lived for something. I want them to say he worked for something. I want them to say that he made some things happen in his life. John Wesley, God is saying to us, we got to move out of the gear of potential, change gears to production, to impact, to do what we've been called to do. So the question is, how do we move from potential and purpose to impact and production and ultimately growth? And my answer today ain't fancy. It doesn't have a whole bunch of pithy sayings. It may even sound boring to you today, but I got the mic. The answer is organize and strategize. That if we want to hold up our purpose, then we need to organize and strategize. Proverbs 21:24, around verse 27 helps us out today, for it says, put your outdoor work in order. Get your fields ready. After that, build your house. Remember, the Proverbs are wise, saying what parents would tell their children to pass down to generation to generation. And I hope that you hear in this text that in order to build, in order to have success, in order to grow, that there are some steps you need to take first. That you can't just wish your way from potential practice. You can't just shout your way from one to the next. It is going to take some hard work, some planning, some organization to get you to the next level of your life. That laziness, although it seems attractive, will not give you any satisfaction. That if we want to have growth in this church, it will require some grunt work. If you want more in your family, it's going to take some focus and diligence on your part. That if you want better for yourself, it's going to take some hard work. That there are some necessities that come before convenience. The first thing the text tells us is to put your outdoor work in order. Some translation says plan or plant first. In other words, that there are some things that you got to bring in order before you actually go and do it. That there are some rules and habits and protocols you need to set in place before you start receiving more from God. This is what we call organization. It is setting things in order in the proper place before you get ready to build. Think about a house, and the roof is your purpose, and the wood beams are organized and strategically in place to support the weight of the house. And like that house, in God's house, there ought to be some organization to help us hold up our purpose and our goal for growth as well. We ought to be in a place, in a position, so that we are ready to move and ready to receive from God. And much like a house, the organization of our pillars or our beams must be there when you add weight to it in order to hold it up. Says, whenever you build, know that the structure is organized so that the weight is evenly distributed. If not, then your house will be lopsided. So what this text is insinuating to us is that you got to get your material organization straight first before you start building in your life. Otherwise, the weight that is put on us will consume us. John Wesley must ask a critical question. Is everybody holding their weight? We will not build, we will not grow if everybody is not doing their part. We must bring a level of organization and meaning and purpose and renewed sense of commitment to hold the weight of ministry. Which means that missionaries, you got to do your part. Missionary, you got to do your part. Deaconess, you got to do your part. Ministers, stewards, trustees, you got to do your part. Marriage ministry, choir, lay council, you got to do your part. For if not, then we will suffer from lopsided ministry. If not, all the weight will rest on leadership, and leadership can't do it all by themselves. We all do our part. We all do our part. Hold the weight so that ministry can be strong. We evenly distribute the weight so that the same people aren't always doing everything. So that we don't continue to suffer from church work burnout. We organize and evenly distribute the weight because we can't do everything in our own human limitations. In your personal life, you ought to organize your personal life so that you are not crushed by the weight that is put on you, but you set up a support system that can help you carry the load. See, we live in community for a reason. And if everybody does their part, then we can grow and succeed together. Make me work, that's fine. Hear me. You can't caregive for everybody on your own. You gotta set up a support system of help or you won't be able to help yourself. You can't be everything for everybody. Lest you lose yourself and other people, you must set and organize priorities in your life. You can't do for everybody all the time. You must organize your boundaries and know when to say no and be okay with saying no and use no in your vocabulary. You must organize your life so that you are not crushed and depleted by the weight that is put on you. Much like a house, your beams and your structure of your life must be organized so that it can support the weight that you want. Really good. Stop asking God for more. And you know you ain't ready for it. See, much like a house, the structure of the beams of our life must be strong to handle the weight. The problem becomes when we add the weight but don't add the structure. So we ask God for more, but don't have the tools to handle the more. See, we can't ask God for financial blessings and not have an organized budget.
Don't you know?
So that when the money comes in, I know what to do with it. Instead, many of us ask God for more, but are not in place or have things ready to receive and hold the blessing God wants to give. Hear me? I can't keep asking God for more money and don't take care of the money I have. Still have a problem with spending, don't pay my bills on time, and ain't saving nothing. So when God gives it to me, you will be right back in the same place because you never organize your funds and spending habits. Hear me? I can't keep asking God for another man or another woman and never having organized my life, cleaned out my own relationship clauses, or learn how to take care of myself. If not, then when God presents the person, I'll lose them like the rest of them. Likewise in church, we can't ask God for more members. And we don't love and take care and speak to the ones we got right here. Otherwise, God will bring the more, but we will run them off. We can't ask God for growth and haven't organized ourselves to receive the growth. We won't be able to handle the weight no matter how good it may be. Let me give you an equation. Weight minus structure equals stress. Weight plus structure equals success. And unfortunately, many of us are stressed out because we're adding more weight but lack the organizational structure to handle it. So then, friends of God, the stronger the structure, the more weight it can handle. Thus, more work without the structure is stress. And stress means that the weight is more than the structure. So what happens is we live a life of stress sometimes because what we ask for and what we pleaded to God for and what we tried to get on our own is too heavy for us to carry because we added the weight but did not add the structure. We wanted the gift but had no character. We wanted more money, but had no morals. We wanted more friends, but still got trust issues. We wanted the big church building, but had no ministry in it. We wanted the church to grow, but had no Holy Ghost power. And while the weight may seem good, while the weight seems like a blessing, while the weight is nice, and even some of the weight we ask for it, but it doesn't feel good when you finally get it, it's because we don't have the organizational structure to hold it. And it ends up stressing us out. And for some of us, it brings us to breaking points. Here today, I don't know about you, but I want to organize my life so that when God does bless, when God does move, when God does grow us, when God does open up the windows of heaven, I'll be able to receive it. I'll be able to manage it. I'll be able to take it. I'll be able to secure it. I want to open up my life and organize my life so that God can trust me with more. The Bible says get your things in order first. Organize, get your structure, start planning, start getting it together now, because if not, then we will mistake blessings as burdens. Secondly, the Bible not only says get things in order and organize them, but then it says prepare your fields and get them ready. In other words, that you've got to focus your attention and be intentional about setting up before God blesses you to build. Please know that in this area of culture that persons had to be experts or really good at what they were doing in order to make a living. And they were to provide a place for them to eat and sleep at night. So they were encouraged to get some things ready before they enjoyed it. That if I did not work, I did not eat. So they would specialize and get a trade and start working it now so that they could enjoy the fruits of their labor later. Such is the case for you and I, that there are some things we got to handle and plan right now before we enjoy that convenience later. If we were to contextualize this verse, it goes something like this: get a life before you get a spouse. Establish your profession before buying a house. Secure a source of income before committing to expensive projects and getting this and that. This part of the verse encourages us to be intentional and strategic before we enjoy the pleasures of life. That restraint now can bring reward later. So when we look at our own lives in our own church, what are the things we are doing? to be intentional and strategic. See, the work that is necessary to build a house or to grow or to have better in your life doesn't just come from a whim. You can't just hope that one day it comes without work. You can't just wish it comes without backing it up. You must be intentional and strategic. Intentional meaning that you're serious about it, and strategic in that we're planning for it. And the same is true for our lives, that we just can't live life on a whim. As much as we would love to do so, there must be a plan. We must bring a level of seriousness to the table. And unfortunately, many of us are just living to be living. No plan, no goal, no go after it. Just living to be living. Waking up every morning, just checking off boxes just because. Having unfruitful lives, going with the flow, whatever floats our boat. And we wonder why we don't see fruit. We wonder why we don't see a move from the Lord. We wonder why we don't see growth. It's because we lack being strategic and intentional about what God has called us to be. But without strategy, your execution is aimless. See, many of us are chasing butterflies. We got a lot of churches and ministries that's just chasing butterflies. So we go with whatever. If you ever want to see real fruit, you got to get serious and get a strategy. So maybe for your life, you need to be asking yourself, what's my strategy? What is my strategy for getting these debts paid? What is my strategy for leaving something for my children and generations after me? What is my strategy for getting out this house? What is my strategy for being more involved in my community? What is my strategy for getting the promotion on the job? And maybe even in the church, we need to ask those same questions. What is our strategy for growing God's people for ministry? What is our strategy for making disciples and saving the lost? What is our strategy for having vibrant ministries again? We provide strategy and are intentional because we want to bring a level of excellence to what God has given us. We ought to be tired of just throwing stuff together. We ought to be tired of just maybe it happens, maybe it won't. We ought to be tired of the attitude, well, we'll just wait and see. No, friends, God is calling his people to be strategic and intentional, to do it with meaning, to work at it with your best. Come at it with your whole heart. That's why Colossians 3, verse 23 through 24 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. That's working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as your reward. It is the Lord Christ that you are serving. Hear me, God did not give you a purpose and a calling for you to fumble it. God did not bless you like he did for you to simply waste it. God did not favor you to sit down on your gifts. God did not breathe life into your nostrils and wake you up this morning for you to just be complacent and stuck and nonchalant about things. God desires to pull the best out of you, but it only happens when you give God your best. See, God won't bless you to the fullest extent until you do what's right. See, God can't favor you like he really wants to until you give him your all. See, God can't grow this church if we're giving him thrown together ministry. God wants our best. And once we have organized that, once we have strategized, then we can build the house and grow. See, I can't enjoy the fruit if I ain't planted the seed. I can't build the house if it ain't organized and got the material together. Organization and strategy is more or less about positioning myself to receive what God is getting ready to pour into me. God can't put more weight on weak structure. God can't give you more if you're already full of the wrong stuff. God won't enlarge your territory if you ain't tilling the ground. I must position myself in my life in a way that makes me ready to receive what God has for me. And I come to encourage somebody this morning and let you know that God sure enough has a lot in store for you. That God sure enough wants to pour into you. That God sure enough wants to grow you. God wants to give you the desires of your heart. God wants to see you succeed. God wants the best for his children. And if we get in position, then God will line the blessings with your life so that what he has given will flow down to you and flow down to those around you. I'm done, but I'm going to talk to somebody and tell you, get in position. Get organized, get a strategy so that what God is getting ready to drop in your lap, you can hold it and you can handle it. Get in do what only He can. I just believe that when we get in the right place, the Lord will give us the right blessings. I just believe that when we provide some structure and strategy, that the Lord will give us more. And is there anybody in the building who is believing God for more? Is there anybody in the building who's saying, Lord, lay it on me? Is there anybody in the building who's saying, I'm ready to receive, I'm ready to handle it, I'm ready to do the work, I'm ready to grow, I'm ready to get to the next level, I'm ready for the new in my life, I'm ready because the best is yet to come? Then you ought to stand where you are and get in position and let's receive what God has for us. The hymn writer said it this way: Lord, I hear the showers of blessings. Thou art scattering, full and free, showers thirsty, land refreshing. Let some drops now follow me, even me, yes sir, even me. Let some drops now follow me, and you ought to lift your hand toward heaven and say, rain down on us, breathe down on us, shower down, send your spirit, Lord. Is there anybody who's got the prayer that eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard, and neither has it entered into the heart of man what we shall be? But I'm walking into this week in position. So I call Thomas and say, get in the right position, and the windows of heaven will pour down on you. Get in the right position, and God will blow your mind. I said, get in the right position, and I come to tell you that you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. Get in the right positions and let the oil flow down from everything. You gotta get yourself in position so that God can bring the growth, can bring the deliverance, can bring the healing, can bring the tear down of some strongholds in your life. I got to go, John Wesley. But can you do me one favor? Get as low as you can and just get in some kind of position and say, God, I'm believing you for more. I'm getting in the right position so that you can have your way in me. God, I'm getting in the right position because I know you got a blessing with my name on it. And if there is anybody at the 10:30 worship who's believing God for more, then you want to lift your hands and give God praise, because with your hands up and your mouth filled with praise is the right position.